OMTimes Radio. The following is an encore presentation. Welcome to Joy of Business with host Simone Milasas, a dynamic business leader with a difference. Simone has founded and operated many businesses from a young age and has always done business differently. Today, Simone is the worldwide coordinator of Access Consciousness and travels the world presenting Joy of Business programs using access tools and empowering people to know that they can create business in a different way and make money doing it. Simone Milasas, weekly on OMTimes Radio.
Hey everybody, welcome to Joy of Business. You're Simone Milasas, and I'm in Fujian Beach, Australia, heading off to Japan soon. And today, I love this topic. This topic excited me so much because it's not just, there's a lot of people out there who sort of function from this. The show title is called I Used to Hate Business. And I have the wonderful, awesome Shannon O'Hara joining me today. Welcome, Shannon.
Hi, Simone. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Now, Shannon has, quite a history. I've known Shannon for quite some time. And she's the founder and creator of Talk to the Entities. So she's absolutely phenomenal at what she does, and she runs an amazing business, and she used to hate business. So I love this topic. So we're going to get down and dirty talking about how, where Shannon used to function from, and then what tools and what things that she has used and instituted to actually change that. Because I see so many people out there who have this point of view that they hate business or joy of business. I mean, I was talking yesterday saying, those three words, joy of business, it doesn't matter what language it's in, it doesn't make sense to anyone. This reality rejects joy of business. So it's like people have all these points of view about what that is, and it's like so many people go, oh, I like my job, so I'm okay, or I don't have a joy in business, so I can't come to your class, and they have all these different, they've made all these different decisions of what it has to be. And it's like, in truth, and it's like, if you're waking up in the morning and you have blood running through your veins, then you're in business, because your life is your business is your life.
Right.
But people have these points of view they grow up with. Like, what do they see their parents doing? Or what do they see, the man on the bus or the train with his little briefcase and he looks really sad, and it's like, and then they go, oh, that's business, I hate it. So everything is that is, and everywhere that you've decided you hate business, let's destroy and uncreate it.
Yeah.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pottle, named shorts, boys and millions. So tell me how you first felt about business, Shannon. What was your first introduction?
I definitely started out, my ambition was to be an artist. And there is basically like art and business definitely don't go hand in hand if you look at society usually. And then I was just an art school dropout. And then I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I just knew I didn't want to live a life like everybody else, but I had no idea what that was. What that difference was. And so as I was sort of like figuring out my way in the world, I've had sort of like the great pleasure to really be exposed to some really dynamic people, you yourself included, who are really looking to create a difference in the world, but not through taking a stand against or fighting against, or it's sort of like as a creator of something different. And it's the creation of something different that I never really fully got until I myself started creating something different, not because I had a point of view that I needed to do something to make money or that I had to have a job to make money. It was more like I want to have fun in my life and I want to enjoy my life, which is something that I think a lot of people want that but aren't necessarily clear on how to create that for themselves. And so I started looking at how can I have fun, how can I travel, how can I keep living the life that I'd like to live and have that actually work, like monetarily too. And so that question started opening up the door to choosing and instituting different businesses, quote unquote, that I didn't even realize were businesses at the time, that allowed me to keep having the fun life that I wanted to have and support myself monetarily.
Yeah, it's interesting when you say that you were an artist first off too, and because the amount of times I've spoken to someone in my class or done a session with someone who likes to write or is an artist or something like that, and they don't see that as a business. And it's like, it is a business. And one of the things we talk about in Access Consciousness is requiring the three different energies: connector, creator, mover. And it's like, so you may be the creator and you may be the mover, or you may not be, but it's like, and then there's, having a connector in that actually goes and talks about your art and sells it, or, has an exhibition with it or something like that. So it's like, first of all, if you're listening to this show, anywhere that you've misidentified what business is, can we destroy and uncreate it?
Yeah.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyond.
Yeah, it's
so
really,
tell me, yeah.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well,
I
it's
was
funny
just
when
going to say, you go.
Even when I hear you talk about business now, it's such a different, I get that I have such a different point of view about what business is, even than the rest of the world, and I know that you have such a different perspective than everybody about what business is, which is what's so refreshing, because people go to business school, but then do they actually learn how to create their lives from those business courses, and what kind of business are we talking about? And I really appreciate how you champion business as a subject, because it can be a heavy topic, and it can also be a topic so shrouded in point of view and judgment, and this is the way that it's done, which really discourages people like me who can't sit in an office and sit behind a desk and do this same thing every day. It almost becomes a deterrent for people who need to change and be doing something different every day. And so I know doing a lot of your work and doing a lot of your courses, I was able to get like, okay, so you know what? I can be me and I can succeed in the business of my life. And that was a really huge eye-opener.
So one of the things that you said, which I think is interesting, you said you were asking and looking for the creation of something different. And you also said you desired to have fun and enjoy your life. And to me, that is business. And I get it. It's like so many people don't see it as that. So tell me a little bit about how you see that you first started changing your point of view about business. Because I know that this is such a hot topic. There's so many people out there who have this point of view that either A, they didn't go to business school, or they failed math, or, all of these different things. And it's like, I failed math in school. The first thing I did when I left high school is I traveled overseas. And it's like, being an Australian, you don't have to go to college to succeed in something. It's like, I know it's a very American sort of thing that you need to go to college. Yeah. Otherwise, the only opportunity is a job at McDonald's. If you're not going to be a doctor or a lawyer here, you can get away with not going to college. It's not deemed as something that's, So I traveled. I just went overseas and I traveled for 3 years. And like I said, I failed math. And yet when I came back, and it's like one of my first businesses that I created was an importing-exporting business from Nepal and India and Thailand and Tibet. And it's like, what I realized was, one of the first things is I had to learn about math, because I was buying things at a certain, price. And then I had to calculate what my landed cost was, including even bribery money to get it out of there, like when you're dealing with countries like India. So, but I did it really quickly and really easily. And I went, when I actually desire to do something and create something, then I can do it. So first of all, anywhere that you've decided that you're not good at something, whereas really, were you truly just bored? Like I was incredibly bored at school. Were you destroy and uncreate it? And ask to show up what you actually know about this subject or this topic. And everything that is, times to God's and right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyond.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I mean, where I started was I had dropped out of, I had never really, it's interesting to sort of look back at like how everything began. And, for me, I was sort of like, had a mother that was very, telling me that this is what I was going to be doing. So basically I had no choice but to go to college. And I thought, well, if I've got to do that, then like I might as well just pick something that I don't have to like think too much about, which was art school. So I got to do that, and that didn't really end up being like fun for me. So I finally quit that, and then I started having to like take a look at, okay, so like, what am I going to do? And to be perfectly honest, the thing that was a huge impetus for me was money. I needed to make money, and so I needed to figure out how I wanted to do that. And so I got some normal jobs, or not running my own business kind of jobs. I worked in a crystal bookstore, and then I became a Pilates instructor, and then I started, and at the same time, simultaneously, I was doing Access Consciousness. And really loving
Which,
it.
let me just insert here that Gary Douglas, the founder of Access Consciousness, is actually Shannon's dad. So she grew up with it.
Yeah, so I grew up with it, and I was also, at this time in my early 20s, I was doing a lot of access, meaning I was like going to classes and using a lot of the tools myself, and and never really getting like that it could be something that I made a business from. It was just something that I used to sort of fix myself, so to speak. And so when I was a Pilates instructor, I was sort of simultaneously coming up with this talk to the entities stuff, which is my main business now. And I was doing tiny little classes here and there and doing sessions for people here and there. And the changes I was noticing in people's worlds based on the sessions and the classes I was doing were massive. And then I'd go back to the Pilates studio, and what change I could create there was so minuscule compared to what I was capable of creating, doing access and facilitating access sessions or groups, And so at one point it just became so obvious how much fun it was to do access and how not fun it was to keep walking into the Pilates studio. And so I sort of had to make a big, actually the owner of the studio came to me and she said, Shannon, I think you're going to need to make a choice, because I kept on wanting to take time off to travel. And so I kind of looked at her and I was like, well, yeah, my choice is access. So I quit that. And it was, when I quit that Pilates job, it was really nerve-wracking for me because it was my primary source of
bread and
income.
butter sort of thing.
It was a reliable income for me, and facilitating access was kind of all over the place. And I just had to take a leap of faith, and boy, oh boy, did it pay off. I just had to ask for the universe to support me, and even if I failed miserably, I had to try. And so I sort of took that leap and followed the energy and kept on going where I was invited, and bit by bit, I started facilitating access more, which was sort of, I didn't realize that was the business. That was a business. It was just something I was doing to make my life work.
Excuse me. That's what I notice that so many people do, though. It's like before they know it, they're actually in business, but they might not necessarily call it that. And it's like, because as I said before, it's like business is about, creating your life, and your life is your business. And to me, it's so much about creation. Like when you said creating of something different, every business I look at is about creating something different. And it's like, and also it never made sense to me if anyone was doing something that they didn't really enjoy, because I was like, this is your life. Why are you doing that? There's so much out there that you can actually create. So it's about creating something different. So everywhere that you've decided that you are not in business when you actually are in business, because you're creating something different, can we destroy and uncreate it? Yeah. Right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all names, shorts, boys and beyond. So we're going to be heading off to a break really soon, and don't go away, come back, because you're with Shannon O'Hara and Simone Milasas on Joy Business, and I would like to ask you, Shannon, some questions tell us about what Talk to the Entities is about, because this is this whole, I see it as an empire that you've created, and it's a worldwide global business, and you're based here in Australia, and it's growing at such a rapid rate. And it's like, so let's talk about that and some of the tools of what you've used to actually expand and create that business. So we'll be back really soon. Don't go away. Have you bought into the idea that you have to work hard for your money, that business is hard? I will share some dynamic access consciousness tools to get you out of your own way so you can create a business that actually succeeds. Join me, Simone Milasas, on the Joy of Business at 4 p.m. Mondays Eastern.
Host your show on IOM-FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM-FM immediately connects you with our extensive, dedicated community.
The truth is, you can't change the world if you're broke. I know. I tried. Isn't it time you turned your life's calling into a profitable, freedom-based business? I'm Michelle Barr. Join me every Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern for Sacred Success.
The number one reason girls drop out of school in sub-Saharan Africa is lack of access to feminine hygiene products. The Pads for Schoolgirls Project, an outreach of Humanity Healing International, is changing this paradigm by setting up sewing programs at schools, teaching girls a vocational skill while producing the reusable pads that help keep them attending classes. The girls pay it forward by making and giving pad kits to other girls in need. To learn more, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is. The cutting edge of conscious radio. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Hi everybody, welcome back to Joy of Business. You're Simone Milasas and Shannon O'Hara, and we're actually talking about I used to hate business, and what we're moving on to is actually talking about Shannon's business, her main business, or as a tool I would like to give you all, if you refer to, even if you only have one business, refer to your business as, this is one of my businesses that I make money from. Because it's like, what have you just done? You've actually invited more businesses, more possibilities to show up, and you've given it a job. It's there to make you money. So just try it out and see if it makes you feel lighter, see if it makes you feel happier. Like, this is one of my businesses that I make money from. So Shannon, one of your businesses that you make money from, talk to the entities.
Yes.
It's like, tell us, what is this business?
Talk to the Entities is, I would actually say it's a service-based business. Talk to the Entities is the sort of format that I created based on my awareness of the spirit world. And I, as a little kid, was always hearing voices and seeing people that no one else could see. And I grew up to be one of those people that always heard voices and saw people that no one else could see. And at one point, it was sort of, in my early 20s, it was either going to make or break me. And it was breaking me. And I sort of, through many conversations with Gary, decided to kind of turn it around and start to use my ability to talk to entities to my advantage. And so it started out just with me sort of reluctantly opening up my mouth and telling people what I was hearing and seeing, and it's turned into a massive or a huge class format where people can come and be empowered to open up to their awareness of the spirit world, which is something that so many people have so much like upset and fear and stuff around, but so many people desire to have more clarity in the area. So Talk to the Entities is really I would say, the foremost and the cutting edge of entity education and awareness, using the tools of access consciousness to empower people to be more aware.
And and tell me a little bit more about how you've expanded the business, because I know that you used to do this yourself, and a little bit like myself with Joy Business, I used to stand up there and do classes, and so did you. And then what was the next move of then expanding that business?
Well, it was a lot of people. It was interesting. I would say the way that I've expanded this particular business a lot has been through people basically coming out of the woodwork and asking for things. So I've been really fortunate in that I've had a lot of, I would say, contribution and assistance sort of like from the universe through people coming and saying, hey, I'd really love to do this, or is it possible for you to do this, or, you know, I would really love to do this or this or this. And I'd start thinking about how do I create that and do this with everybody. And so what started happening was people started asking to become Talk to the Entities facilitators because they wanted to do what I was doing. And so we created that. And so now, 4 years in, we've got Talk to the Entities facilitators all over the world who are out there doing these classes and helping people gain access to the incredible, phenomenal tools of Talk to the Entities and Access Consciousness.
That just makes me smile so much. It's like, I know, it's so cool. So, and one of the things when you said that, you know, you sort of created the next step by people asking you, and this is really important, I think, for people to get in business, because if you try and work your business out, and it's like you'll drive yourself crazy. It's like, you know, this reality quite often says you have to have a business plan. It's like, what are your projections? What are this? And that's always has never made sense to me. And it's like, have an awareness of the future and what you can choose to create that future. But if you create a business plan, if I gave you that home play today and said, go and create a business plan and what are your projections going to be, most of the time it never ever shows up the way you think it's going to show up. And most of the time it does this like, because you get like really heavy, and because you're functioning from what you know, you're not actually functioning from what, as Shannon actually mentioned before, she asked the universe to support her. So can you talk a little bit more about asking the universe to support you, and what sort of questions you ask to expand your business from that space?
Yeah, well, I mean, literally right now, interestingly, I sort of would even like to just sort of speak to where I'm at right now, because this business has, along with my life, has been sort of growing and evolving rapidly, and it's been incredible to look back sort of at the years and how much I've learned and grown and how much that's compounding, and how well I thought I was doing a couple of years ago, and then I look at what I'm doing now and I'm like, wow, okay, so if this is how much, if this is how much things have grown and how much I've accomplished in this amount of time, what could I create, into the future? And right now, there's some stuff coming this year that I don't really know. There's the old ways in which I used to create particular things in the business aren't working anymore. And the reason I know they're not working is because literally it's not fun, and it's also not bringing in, literally I'm seeing a monetary difference in it. And so I don't always base what I do in the business based on the money, but I do use the money as a way of knowing what's working and sort of where I need to change gears and what else I could be doing to maybe make things work better financially. Because I love money and I love the business to be creating a lot of money. So I'm looking at this year what I need to do different in order to create beyond what I've had in the past. Because I don't love maintenance, which I know is a huge part of business. I'm really on fire with the creation. And so I'm having to really challenge myself, okay, so what new class formats do I have to come up with? What new ideas for spreading the sort of like the awareness that Talk to the Entities and Access is? What other ways are there to create this? Talk to the Entities, what are you wanting to become that where do I need to change in order to allow you to be what you want to be? And so last year was this massive year of growth for me and the company simultaneously, and this year almost feels like we're having it's like a cat that's curling back on its four legs is about to take this major leap, and I can't. Everything feels in the beginning of the year right now feels very slow and not quite as like robust and explosive as it did last year. But I just know that we're about to make this quantum leap that I have no idea what it's going to be. I just have to keep my courage about me and get ready.
I absolutely adore you, and thank you so much, because it's like you're actually willing to have a look at this and willing to look at the energy of what is now, but also foresee what can be created in the future. And one of the questions you can ask is like, even just simply, what energy, can I be for the business? What energy can I be with the business to create a greater possibility in the future, to create a greater possibility now? Like any of these questions will actually assist you in choosing something different and choosing something more. And it's interesting too, because you go through these different places with business, and I see people become complacent with your business has been very successful, so it's like monetarily and in every way of getting the tools out. So with everything, tick all the boxes sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then you see people sort of go, oh, okay, so now I've succeeded. And it's like, no, what if this was just the beginning? What if this was the tip of the iceberg? What if your business could be 10 times, 100 times larger than what it currently is? I mean, if I look at Talk to the Entities and it becomes 100 times larger than what it currently is, then is it going to have an impact on the world and change the world as what I know it will be? And I get yes. And it's like, okay, cool, let's go.
Yeah. Whether the world's ready or not.
Yes, exactly. Woohoo! So one of the things, too, I just wanted to point out, so Shannon and I are having this conversation, and she's saying that there's something new, et cetera. Now, so by her asking this question, then information can come from anywhere. And as she was talking, I went, oh, I know what could occur. And it's like, it's just an idea. So when you hear something, it doesn't mean you have to conclude that that is now the answer and that's now the next choice. It's be willing to receive information and possibilities from everywhere. And it's like, what if you had this, spherical awareness of possibilities from everywhere? And everything it doesn't allow that to show up, where you destroy and uncreate it, right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all names, shorts, boys and beyond. From glancing a newspaper when you get on a plane, from hearing a little kid talk, it's like there's information that the universe is willing to gift you from absolutely everywhere. And one of the conversations I've been having in, the business of access consciousness is Asia is expanding really rapidly at the moment. So I've been dealing with a lot of the Asians and sort of talking about different things that we could create to expand it even more, because it sort of does get to that stage where it expands, and then it's sort of like, that's a great analogy of the cat sort of curled up on the couch. And it's like, okay, so what next? And so we started looking at expos in Asia to actually expand it further out. And there's one in Singapore that just feels so correct to me. Like it's got this energy of like, okay, it could create something. Now, when you look at choices like this to expand your business too, it's not going, oh, okay, this expo in Singapore in November is going to create blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, if there's an energy about it that makes you feel lighter, then choose it. And now you could even choose it and not do it, but it could open up to a different door of possibilities. Or you could go to Asia and you could do an expo and maybe you just break even, or maybe even you lose money, but you meet one person that changes the entirety of your business or changes the entirety of the way that you look at things. So you cannot come to a conclusion about what's going to expand your business or even create your business. But as Shannon mentioned earlier, if you're willing to create something different and ask for the fun and enjoy your life, then it's amazing to see what will actually show up.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say joy is the absolute magic potion for everything, which is so counterindicated in this reality. It's being happy is what I think has really fueled my success, and I know that being happy is really it's really the superpower that everyone has in abundance, but so few people are willing to utilize.
To choose it. I know.
Yeah.
So it's true, though. It's like Gary Douglas did a telecall the other day. It was an advanced money telecall, and it was brilliant. And one of the things that came up, he was talking about enthusiasm. And it's like if you look at the energy of enthusiasm, if you're enthusiastic about your business, if you're enthusiastic about your life, it's like, what can be created? It's like, it's almost like nothing can damage that enthusiasm. The only thing that can damage the enthusiasm is you not willing to be it, and you not willing to receive it, and you're not willing to have it. And it's like this reality will always try and bring you back down to, you have to plan this, or you should be doing this, or isn't that a risk, or blah, blah, blah. And it's like, we were looking at property the other day to buy, and it doesn't make sense in this reality what we're going for. But I looked at Brendan and I went, you know what? It just feels like fun.
Yeah.
And from fun and from that joy, you can create anything. So we're going to head off to another break. And if you want to find out more about Shannon and her business, you can go to talktotheentities.com. So talktotheentities.com, and she's always got lots of different telecalls and classes all over the world as well. And we'll talk about some of those classes she's got coming up. Don't go away. We'll be back real soon talking about one of my favorite subjects, creating a business from my used to hate business.
Have you ever wondered how to change your love paradigm? The secret key is finding a love partnership, not just a regular connection. How do you find these? Through conscious relationships. Ascending Hearts Dating is a dating site for people like you that believes in second chances and a different type of spiritual connection. Try Ascending Hearts for free today at ascendinghearts.com and change your love paradigm. Ascending Hearts, the premier dating community for the spiritually awake.
Hi, my name is Monica and I'm the host of Co-Creating Now. Give yourself an opportunity to connect with your all-knowing higher self and manifest joy, love, and peace together every Tuesday, 11 a.m. Eastern.
Host your show on IOM-FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM-FM immediately connects you with our extensive, dedicated community.
Would you like to make a difference in the world but don't know how? Do you think you'd have an easier time creating that change with or without money? Here's the thing. You have to be willing to value yourself and the services that you offer to start creating more money. My new online video course, Finding the Value of You and Your Business, is now online at udemy.com. Go to accessjoyofbusiness.com/Udemy special to get $20 off today.
Connecting you with the best of the conscious minds in the world. OMTimes Radio. IOM-FM.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Joy of Business. And the topic today is I used to hate business. And as you can see, as we're talking throughout this show, that has definitely changed in Shannon's world. So, which I absolutely love. So how does it get any better than that? So where are you limiting yourself in business that if you didn't limit yourself in business could change not just your reality, but the entire world? And everything that is times a godzillion where you destroy and uncreate it.
Yeah.
Right and wrong, good and bad, hock and pot, all nine, shorts, boys and beyonds. So what are some of the other tools or questions that you'd like to give the listeners, Shannon, for getting over that hump into creation?
Yeah, and I love this question, too, because I'm working with a lot of people, it's like having facilitators is basically like a bunch of basically subsidiaries or franchises of Talk to the Entities, as there are many access facilitators that are like little subsidiaries or franchises of access. And I know that, for me, I always loved the magic and the sort of the magic of life, and business never ever fit into what I enjoyed. It was like business meant numbers, business meant the bottom line, business meant, men in suits, business meant this, business meant that, but none of the business was like this sort of like creative, easy, and joyful thing for me. And so what I had to start looking at, especially in the beginning and even now as I keep changing and growing, is like, what is success for me? And for me, success is definitely like being happy. Like that's a huge, like if I had all the money in the world and I wasn't happy and I wasn't happy, that wouldn't really work for me. So being happy is probably numero uno. And then somewhere else, in addition to what is success for me, is definitely having ease and peace with money. And I looked at, because there's like a million ways to have money. Like you can have a business, which is like what we're talking about. You can marry someone who's really rich. You can inherit a load of money. You could, go to work for somebody else and there's just so many ways to have money. And so I started looking at, so I know I would like to have money. So what's it going to take? And for me, somehow I really jive with creation. And I love to create my life and not just create my life in terms of fun and travel and having new friends and meeting new people and getting to sort of like be present in the world, but also the joy of receiving financially in addition to inspiring people to be all that they are. There's some amazing synergy in that. And so I started basically testing out the waters and, sort of half-heartedly, not fully committed to, well, I really want to change the world and maybe I'll try, I'll just do this. And then I'd do a class and I'd succeed a little bit, both energetically and financially. And then I'd sort of retreat back into but I really don't really believe I can succeed. And this isn't really, I'm not supported in the world and I don't want to be different and people are going to judge me if I show up. And just bit by bit, I started seeing that all this point of view about being judged if I show up and not really being able to change the world, but really hoping I could, but not really believing that it was possible, really getting how none of that was really my point of view. And so choosing more and more to really trust and commit to and stand behind what I know, which has been a fucking epic life journey, to really stand behind what I know, and it's in the willingness to commit to consciousness, or, to put it into simple terms, that I've now been at the receiving end of sort of the dividends or the payback that consciousness yields when you are willing to step up to being the source of change in the world, not just from an airy-fairy point of view, but even from a monetary and business standpoint. The business of change, the business of consciousness, the business of empowering people to know what they know, not to line my own pockets, but to change the way the world works and to change the way that I work.
I love that. That's absolutely beautiful. And thank you so much, because it's what I love too is that, yes, I've written a book, I do classes, and I do all of this, and listening to someone like you talk makes me desire to create even more. And it's
cool.
What if we were all playing leapfrog with each other? I mean, one of the things that you have said repeatedly throughout this show is that happiness is one of the things that is what you desire to have and be. So yeah. It's you sort of have that as your, okay, is this going to, create happiness in my world? And I am happy, and yet I haven't looked at that to the extent that by you talking is allowing me to look at right now. So it's like just sort of scanning, in a nanosecond over my life sort of thing and going, oh yeah. And it's like, no, I am happy, because it's like anytime you sort of find yourself doing something from a necessity rather than a choice, the necessity will always have this thing of like even totally. Just recently, we're going to Europe to do this, the Access Consciousness, Gary and Dane on tour in Europe. Right. And there was this one thing about going to Dublin to meet with the guys who we do business with, etc. And in my world, I was just like, I didn't want to go. Yeah. I was like, I don't want to go. And I had this, and I was like, why don't I want to go? And I was trying to find every reason and justification of why I didn't want to go. And something changed where it didn't become a necessity anymore. It became a choice. And I booked my ticket, and I went, I'm really excited about going to Dublin. And he just laughed at me, because I was like, I know, there's like literally nothing different as in going, like I'm going, but what changed was the energy. It was no longer a necessity. Yeah. It was a choice to create.
And that's what's so cool, I think, that's what I love so much about an access consciousness business, which is what I would say both of us create from, sort of like the tools and philosophies of access, in that energy is paramount. And the energy will always indicate to you if you're going the right direction or not. And that ability to follow the energy, which we're all born with, unfortunately sort of gets educated out of us when we're taught to make our mind or our learning more superior, as though our mind can predict or determine what's the right direction or the right choice for us. But it's really the energy that never lies. And so we oftentimes trick ourselves with our heads into believing that the things that don't feel light are going to work out and provide for us the thing that they're going to provide. And how often does that ever really work? And so following the energy is what I love about access, is that it actually sort of uncovers, it eliminates the just megatons that gets piled on top of our ability to simply listen and to follow the energy. And if you can follow the energy in business, that will lead you to something that is so different. But do people really want something different? And I think that's a really big question that we need to ask ourselves.
Yeah, do you actually desire to create something different, or are you happy complaining about your life as it currently is? Because if you're complaining about it, and it's like, guess what? You created it. You created the mess it's in. You created the comfort zone that it's in. You created the complacency you're in, and it's like, and you are the one that can change it. So everything that is, and this is not about going to the wrongness if you're judging you. This is just about acknowledging that maybe you might desire a little bit of change. Maybe you might desire a lot of change. So everything that is time to Godzillion, where you destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all names, shorts, boys and beyond. And I love what you said, go ahead. Well,
I want to add this part that, it keeps popping up, and I keep on trying to find a place. It's really interesting. I sort of set this target at the beginning of 2015. I wanted my business to grow over $1 million USD, just for fun, just to see if I could, because that, for me, $1 million USD, it was what I thought was out of my comfort zone, and definitely a stretch for me. And in the beginning of 2015, it was an enthusiastic, maybe I can, but I sort of didn't really know, but I also wasn't disbelieving of it. It was more just sort of like, what's it going to take? What's it going to take? And then I did, and then I way surpassed it. And I way surpassed it like by the middle of the year, and I went, whoa. And I went, whoa, almost, and I mean like, whoa, like you pull on the horse's reins, like, whoa, slow down. And that was an interesting moment, and I looked at sort of like I had made the money, but it sort of didn't mean anything. It was sort of like it didn't feel like anything to me, and I went, wow, no matter how much money I make, that's not, obviously the money isn't really my target here, because having all this money has accomplished basically nothing in my universe. I didn't feel like I was any more me. I didn't feel more right. I didn't there was sort of like whatever I thought that $1 million was going to create, it didn't. And so I went, okay, so the money's great, but there's something else here I'm shooting for, obviously.
So I'd love to ask you more questions about that. I'm going to see if I can get a quick one in before we go to break, because I had a very similar sort of thing occur, and I see that happen all the time when you talk about the whoa, like, putting on the brakes. And it's like, so tell me more about the energy of when you did start to put on the brakes and how you sort of went, okay, it's not about stopping the brakes. I can actually create more money. Because I get that people get this like,
Well, this is something that I'm presently working on is I do this funny thing when I have all this money, which is hysterical. When I have a pile of money or I look at my bank account and there's a lot of money in there, my initial reaction is, like it's almost like oh no. It's really this quick flickering response I have, and then I catch myself and I'm like, what the fuck am I thinking? And excuse me, I don't know if I'm allowed to say the F-U-C-K word. I catch myself and I go, okay, podpoc that. This is awesome. How does it get better? And so right now I'm noticing that I've got a financial comfort zone, and this is something I've had to keep pushing and pushing, like literally changing and pushing and forcing myself sometimes to get out of that financial comfort zone. And it's not just having the money, it's also then learning what I need to do with the money, because I have a tax bill now that I've never had to deal with taxes in this way, so I'm having to learn a whole bunch of new stuff, which could intimidate a lot of people. But I will not be intimidated. I have to keep going.
It's so funny, Shannon. Because we had a meeting the other day with our accountant 2 days ago, and she told us what we were in for with the tax, and I was like, oh, okay. And I went, well, lucky we're going to Europe, and it's a big money-making trip. So. Yeah. But the funny thing was I noticed that I wasn't quite prepared for it, but I also have to say that cognitively I wasn't, but energetically I was. Yeah. And there was nothing in my world that I started to stress out with, which was the first time ever when I get a big tax bill. And today, we've got, like Brendan, my partner, and I, we went, okay, let's have like this financial date night and, open a bottle of champagne or something and talk about our finances and how we can create the cash flow that is always there and sort of start to look at that. So what I like is when you're pushing like you said, I love that. It's like, you have this financial comfort zone, and it's like start pushing that and asking for it to expand and see what else can show up. But if you have the awareness of it, you can change anything. If you're not willing to be aware of it, you can't change it, and you can't have anything different. You can't receive anything more. So we're going to talk more about this after the break, which I love this topic, and I love that you brought it up. So how does it get any better than this? And what would it take for you all to expand the zone of your financial reality and everything it doesn't allow that to show up, to throw and uncreate it, right and wrong, good and bad, pocket pot, all nine shorts, boys and mountains. We'll be back real soon.
Thanks.
Would your business and life like to be bigger? Would you like to have more fun with everything you do? Simone Milasas travels the world facilitating Joy of Business seminars. These classes are for you if you would like to create more money and joy, expand your business, and work smarter, not harder. Join her live or watch the online seminar from the comfort of your own home. Go to www.accessjoyofbusiness.com to register and for more information.
As difficult as it is to believe, there are places in Africa where human traffickers sell albino children and their body parts for use in magic rituals. Humanity Healing International is actively working in Uganda to change this paradigm. The Albino Rescue Project finds albino children who are at risk and places them in safe schools and environments where they can learn and grow free from fear. To learn more or to sponsor a child, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is. Are you trying to get from point A to point B and need a little advice? Connect with the counselors at OMTimes Advisors. Whether you're looking for a life coach or a spiritual intuitive, the advisors participating at advisors.omtimes.com were carefully chosen based on their gifts, skills, and professionalism. OMTimes Advisors, connecting you with the best advisors in the business.
Hi, this is Angela Levesque, host of Entanglement Radio. Join me Wednesdays at 12 p.m. Eastern for inspiring conversations with visionaries in spiritual science and conscious healing. Entanglement Radio, Wednesdays at 12 p.m. Eastern. Transcendent talk for the conscious mind.
Your conscious connection to a more mindful world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Hey everybody, welcome back. Joy of Business. You're with Simone Milasas, and I feel like we left you on a cliffhanger because this is one of my favorite topics, and it's like, and people don't like to talk about money. It's like they almost whisper it, and it's like, you know, I mean, how many of you have been brought up to actually talk about money, receive money, or demand more money, or the allowance of that, or even as Shannon said before, when she said, I love money, it's like, I love money too. And it took me a long time to actually admit that. I came up with all of these reasons and justifications of why I could have money in my life. I was like, you know, well, I'm going to do good things with it. And I was like, wow, what if? And it took me a friend of mine, Dr. Dane here, said to me one day, Simone, what if you just allowed yourself to earn money and have it for you? Like, what if it was just for you? Because I was like, I bought a friend a car. I took another friend skiing. I was like paying for all these things for people. And I was like, oh, so just have the money for me. And within that, I could choose to buy a friend a car. But the energy of why I was doing that was because I felt like I had too much. And it was like I had too much and others didn't have what I had. And, you know, somewhere in my world, I think I wanted everyone to hold hands and sing Kumbaya and have the same. But in truth, I was the one that was creating more. So why would I not receive that I was actually creating more and empower others to create more as well? Hence the joy of business. So one of the things I'd like to ask you too, Shannon, is what have you demanded now? Have you stepped up your demands, or what does that look like? What questions have you asked?
You know, that's actually hitting a really interesting nerve for me right now. Because in the past, I would have created through making a demand and sort of setting a target, so to speak, you know, sort of like I mentioned, like I made the $1 million sort of target. That was a target. And that was a pretty easy one because that's a monetary one that exists and blah, blah, blah. And I mean, blah, 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 because we could have other targets too, like total happiness or complete peace with money or, you know, which are not necessarily, well, anyways, right now, I actually don't, when you say you're making different demands, like, right now, I sort of would actually even love to ask you for some facilitation and for some advice, if that's something that we could do here, sort of hands-on, practical. You know, I've been working at this for a long time, and I've created a lot. And right now, there's the energy that I used to create from, or the enthusiasm or the inspiration or the knowing that I used to create from, it's just completely different. It's like, it's not that it's not there, it's completely changed. And whatever it's changed into, I can't quite get a foothold in how this works or how I create or what I want to create. And so I keep being in the question of, like, where are we going? What's required? And so I would love to get some advice or some facilitation or some questions on what could I be instituting now to keep growing things. To keep growing things not necessarily in the way that I've decided they need to be, but just to keep creating. And obviously money is a huge part of that for me. I would really love the money to come. And to come and to come and to come, so that I can invest it in the things in the world.
So let's have a conversation about this. Yeah,
say again?
Let's have a conversation. Let's have a conversation about this, because everything that you're saying is very similar. Like I said, to like when I first earned over $1 million, I didn't want to tell anyone. I was wanting to hide it, and I was like, you know, it took everything I could to tell Gary and Dane. And Gary was like, of course, he was so pleased and thrilled, and it's like his first, like He's the most amazing man to work with I've ever worked with in my whole entire life. He does business so incredibly different. And that was one of the most appealing things about Access when I first came along, is when he spoke about business. And he also spoke about relationships. And I was just like, oh, my God, I'm not wrong for the way I'm thinking about business. I'm not wrong for the way I look at relationships. And he empowered me so much. And that's what he will always continuously to do, which I just adore. So when I sort of let the cat out of the bag, and when, you know, I announced that I had earned over $1 million, I was like, it was like, oh, phew, you know, it's like, and I had to look at all the places of where and what I was hiding with money as well. So it's like, that's one question that I would have out there for all of you. It's like, you know, are you hiding anything with money? And it's like, where have you decided that you have to be? And I actually don't think this one applies to you, Shannon, but it's like, where have you decided that you have to be the same as everybody else? Rather than, what if you were the wealthiest person you knew? What would you create and what could you change?
Like, and everything that brings up.
Destroy and uncreate it, right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot all and shorts, boys and beyonds. Because I know for Shannon, I know what her target of consciousness, and I know myself the target of consciousness. And I look at this and go, okay, so if I was earning $10 million a year, where would the world be? What changes would have been created? Because of the businesses that we're in, and every time I mention that to all the Joy Business facilitators, it's almost like it gives them permission. Is it tricking them into consciousness and creating more money? Maybe. And it's like, you know what? It still matches the energy of what I would like to see in the world. So if every Joy Business facilitator was earning $1 million, $5 million a year, then that would match the energy of my target would be every single business in the world using the Access Consciousness tools. Every single business, even if they ask one question each day, then the change that would occur on our planet is what is really required. And this is not just, we're at this stage where it's not just talking about, oh, let's save the planet, let's have these signs, let's, save the whales or something. It's like, no, we literally need to create more awareness and more consciousness on this planet. So what's going to create that? And it's like that energy of demand is what I use to sort of, I want to say, push myself beyond, as you mentioned before, that comfort zone.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got this beautiful house now. We've done these renovations. It looks amazing. And it's like people are like, oh, look, here's your home. And we look at it and go, are you kidding? This is just the beginning. And it's like, what else is possible? And it's like, so what could you choose today that would expand not only your financial reality, but expand your whole entire reality that would go beyond your comfort zone, that you haven't been willing to choose, that if you did choose it, would change everything. And everything at that is times a godzillion, we destroy and uncreate it, right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all names, short stories and beyond. And I heard Gary Douglas say the other day on a call, which I thought was brilliant. Someone was going, making a choice and going, oh, but what if this happened? And he said, why do you always go to what's the worst thing?
Yeah.
If you look at every choice you've made that's changed an area of your life, whether it's your job, whether it's your partner, whether it's where you move to geographically or anything like that, has it ever shown up as worse, or has it always created something better? Different, but always something more. Like it's always created something more. So why would you sit there, anyone listening here, and going to the worst possible scenario rather than, hey, does this feel like fun for me? Exactly what Shannon spoke about before. It's like happiness and enthusiasm and the joy is truly something that can create something far greater than you can ever cognitize, you can ever work out in a budget or a business plan or anything like that. So it's the energy that you be that will create more. So everything at that is times a godzillion, we destroy and uncreate it. Right now, good and bad, POC and POD, all names, short stories and beyond. The other thing that I'd love to touch on quickly, and we can talk about this, Shannon, is is expanding your business with hiring people. Yeah. It's like, how many people are you willing to hire to create the business that will change
well, and
everything?
That's another thing I'm sort of up against right now is where are the people that I want to hire? Because I can hire anybody, but it's really, and what I've learned over the last, I think I've been an employer for about 3 years now. Which was quite a revolution and step up for me. I didn't realize that being a manager was a whole other skill set, right? That I sort of had to figure out as I went along. It's finding the people or having the people show up that are a real contribution, that are able to create with me and create with the business, that allows the energy to grow and expand. I've had quite a lot of people work with me, and some have been amazing and taught me a lot that I had to overcome, and some have been amazing and just an incredible contribution and done great work, and some have come along that have done great damage. And so I'm sort of looking, it's sort of stepping out of the business being my personal thing and into, okay, so how do we deal with the people that we deal with in business, and have that not only not stop us, but how do we work with people in business? How do we work with people?
So one of the things that I always look for is there's an energy that's required. And I mean, even just recently, I was just like, wow, I felt like Joy Business was really chaotic, and not chaotic in a sense of creation, chaotic in a sense of no one knew what was going on. The amount of times someone would say, can someone do this? And I was like, you know what, we need to stop addressing someone. We need to actually know what everyone's doing, because it was getting bigger. And so everyone was like, I don't know who does that now, So I had, which was interesting, I had like a mini meltdown in South Africa, but it only went for 15 minutes. And I was lucky to have Francesca, who I work with, and Chris Hughes, who's been on this show before, and Brendan, my partner, who sat there with me and asked me questions. And it was like, okay, cool. And what I did was I just went, you know what, I have to let go of absolutely everything that is occurring here, destroy and uncreate my whole entire relationship with the business, and just sort of let go. Like, you know, like one of those dolls that when you click the button and it just goes, it's like that, and just go, okay, cool. So I did, and I was like, all right, let's see what shows up. And every single time I do that, surprisingly, and it's like everyone steps up to this different energy. And I also notice when there's an energy that is required. So we have so little time left for this show. We're almost at the end of it. But let's do something here. What you mentioned before is let's ask the universe to support our businesses more than we've ever been willing to receive before.
Cool.
Your business, Shannon, my business, every business out there, anyone's listening. And on 3, let's destroy and uncreate everything that doesn't allow that to show up, okay? So just put your hands up and destroy and uncreate the energy on 3. 1, 2, 3. And on 4, for more, okay? Let's ask the universe, let's employ the universe to show us who and what can actually contribute far greater than what we've been willing to control. On 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Cool. How does it get any better than this?
Thank you, Simone.
Oh, you are so welcome. I so loved having you on the show, and I would love to have you on the show on any topic, and a completely different topic. You're incredibly easy to do a show with and work with, so thank you, Shannon.
Cool. And I just want to also just tell people, like, out there in the world, if you have a chance to do any of Simone's stuff, this is a free political, this is a non-paid political announcement. If you have the chance to do any of Simone's Joy of Business work, please do. It is an addition, even if you don't have a business, or if you run a family, family's business, and then anyone who runs a household knows that. And so if any of you have the chance to do some of Simone's classes, please do. Simone, you're one of my favorite facilitators. What you create,
Thank you.
The energy that you create is just amazing.
Thank you.
Support.